that you can read.
Hello, brothers and sisters of light and dark. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my page. My page is about common sense. I try to keep it down under the nitty-gritty under 10 minutes. But if it goes over 10 minutes, it's something very, very, very important. And not important to liberals, libertards, people who believe in God, people like to smoke, people like to drink, people like ayahuasca, people like DMT. Listeners' discretion is advised. Now, basically, as I was scrolling through Facebook, if you have any comments, questions, insults, or roast fest, you put it down below. As I said before, I'm going to say it slower for people who can't pay attention. If you have any comments, questions, insults, or even roast fest, you put it down below. All right. Let's talk about this topic with Neil deGrasse Tyson, of course. But I'm gonna put my little two pieces in there, my 2 cents in there. All right. You see right there, are we living in a simulation? Okay. I want to let them talk, and then I'll explain it to you. Okay, what my perspective is. Okay. All right. So let's begin with the videotape. Check out my credentials down below. This is the type of stuff I'm interested in, more than just talking about women and everything else, because I like to talk about multitudes of different things. I'm a Renaissance, okay? In different intellectual properties, studying different revenues and subjects, okay? Let's begin the videotape. Are we living in a simulation? Neil deGrasse Tyson, okay? Scientist, all right? Let's go.
Waiting for someone to convince me that we don't live in a simulation.
I've heard you say it.
The arguments put forth have been quite convincing to me. And most of the best arguments are traceable to a guy named Nick Bostrom, a philosopher at the University of Oxford.
Okay.
Here's the argument. Ready?
Go ahead.
Our computing power is growing rapidly.
Right.
We create simulations of worlds. We have video games with characters that are inside the video game.
Right.
Imagine a day where you can simulate a world so perfectly with life forms, humans, so well that you can recreate every single neurosynaptic thought you could have, but now you're in the simulation on the computer.
So,
including the perception of free will.
Well, there you have it. Because so now you would have enough computing power to imbue the Sims inside of the program with.
Listen to this. This reminds me of Stan Lee, The Watchers. They watch over us. And it also reminds me of What If, that one episode where Doctor Strange and his love, he got killed and he became corrupted. One thing for certain is that it is possible. I'm just going to keep my mind open and say it like that, okay? I'm going to start off just saying, think of everything in a hypothetical sense, okay? Never say something is probably this and probably that, because our minds will automatically become arrogant to think that it is not possible. And so if you start thinking on the arrogant level, you're saying this is a small percentage chance. Just like those people who don't believe in God. Okay? Because me, I'm an agnostic. I say, hey, anything is possible. You never know. We might be living in the Matrix or not. But just to keep it short, I basically believe in hypotheticals. I'm agnostic. I don't believe in none of that stuff. I believe in possibilities and possibilities, but I don't really go too far out there and say it's a fact, okay? But the chances are that if there's a real God out there, a deity that's watching over us, that deity is probably be miserable as hell. You think about it, okay? He's experiencing each and every last one of our lives. And also experiencing viruses and microscopic bugs and animals and stuff in different perspectives and different lives and experiences. That's crazy, but it may not seem like he's being bored out of his own mind. But that could be a form of torment, okay? But then again, it might not be a torment. So I'm always thinking in hypotheticals as an agnostic. But let's continue on what they have to say here.
All of the human traits that we possess now.
Correct. Not only our human traits, but the world.
But the world.
The world itself.
Right.
And you don't have to have all the world existing there at all times.
Right.
That might be an unrealistic amount of computing power.
Right.
You just need
enough of the world that they see around.
You heard what Neil deGrasse said. He said that might be an unrealistic perspective to think like that hypothetically, okay? He didn't say hypothetically, okay? But of course, everything he's probably speaking is hypotheticals. But of course, it's okay to think that way. You don't never know what's on the other side. Everything can be probably processed and computed through evolution all the way up. When I watched the Star Trek universe, I remember Q. And there was a universe beyond his, which of course Q was hiding things all along. He was just trying to give little hints to Jean-Luc Picard about the possibilities and probabilities in all different times and dimensions and spaces. But let's continue on what they have to say, okay?
The
nothing that they see around them.
Right.
So you want to start digging, and
that's so funny.
And haven't put the earth there. There's a flag that goes up in the.
I don't like this dude on the right side. I don't know who that guy is. He seems kind of like, prissy about himself, like, you want to call it a narcissist, okay? A person who's a real true narcissist, they're basically like, they get real emotional. And they're not good actors. They're not good actors at all. But this guy right here, I'm like, isn't it strange how the way he acts? I know I act strange. But of course, this guy, he really acts strange. He just, it's weird. It's fucking weird. I'm talking about myself too. I'm weird. I know I'm weird. But Jesus, that guy's weird too, okay? But let's continue on.
Programmer, and they say, need more earth. So they
Right.
put earth beneath you while you can keep digging.
It's like the Truman Show.
Yeah, well, for example.
Right.
Okay.
Cool.
Or does Minecraft, you can build
Or
stuff.
Minecraft.
Right.
Yeah, this dude seems kind of superficial and shit. I don't like this guy right here. I would not trust this guy.
Oh, that is Minecraft.
Right, okay.
God, that guy's a brilliant genius. Okay.
So we went to the moon. They said, okay, let's make sure the moon is there.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe that's why we can't travel faster than the speed of light, because if we could, we'd be able to get to another galaxy
Before they could program it.
that galaxy.
Yeah, but what if they already did already? What if they limited our minds so we can't think outside the box like that? See, that's what the Watchers do. They keep us in a construct of our mental psychosis so we can't escape it. We can't even, whatever we're experiencing now in this reality, we can't think outside the box. Our imagination is also programmed by them. Have you ever had a time when basically you say to yourself, I just can't help it. I just can't help being emotional, okay? That's because it was already genetically entwined in your DNA, in your own matrix, in your own Godhead. Think about it like that, I'm like, you go outside, I can't help it, I can't help it, I can't help it. Maybe they programmed that into your system, and they're actually trying to test you to see if you can break free from that. Okay, it's a form of evolution. Okay, but of course that's what they want to do. But it is possible, so be careful, because if people saying, "Oh, it's possible," and I say, "Okay, then let's prove it." Just prove it. Just prove it and do the research. Okay, and then you can leave this planet if you want, if you know it's all a simulation. But let's continue on what they have to say.
Oh! So much fun.
So the programmer put in that limit.
Put in the limit.
Because that's the fastest they can get.
We can't program fast enough. So we put in a limiter. The speed of light is a limiter so that you can't get to the...
Yeah, they put in a limiter. Remember the key element here. They put in a limiter. Remember that. They put in a limiter. You don't put the limits. Okay? They describe the limits. All right?
The next thing before we build it.
All right, so let me finish. That's good.
Go ahead.
That's good, Chuck.
All right.
So let me finish this. So now that world evolves, and they develop computing power.
Right.
And they say, we want to play video games.
So now we're going to make a world.
So then they make a world, and they have sufficient computing power that they invent
Right.
to create a whole universe within their computers.
Okay.
And then
They make a world.
And then they make a world all the way on down.
Right.
It could be hundreds,
That's the
thousands,
plan.
billions, infinite.
All right. So far, this sounds like it still works.
That's fine. So now...
That's the plan. Think about it. They want to keep creating these universes, multi-dimensional universes, time, space, and dimensional vortices, because we don't want to self-destruct and eat ourselves. They don't want us to self-destruct and eat ourselves. If we do have some sort of potential, they'll let us evolve in time. And of course, your minds also have to think about reincarnation, because if they really like you, you're going to reincarnate in some kind of way, because you're making a message. Like myself, I'm indigo. I always tell people to think like this, outside the box, and they like me, so they're going to reincarnate me in another better body in some kind of way. But I'm not trying to rule and dominate anybody. People believe in Jesus all the time, and then there's people who believe in Shiva and Krishna, over 3,000 different gods in the world. But me, I'm not interested in being a controller of everything. I just want to make sure that everybody can evolve at their own pace and their own experiences. You know what I'm saying? But they might like the deities that's outside of our construct. Okay, like if you think about the Matrix, look what all happened, all because they took a blue pill, all because they injected them, all because they pulled the plug. And think about the person who is the overseer, the oracle, okay, or the Matrix himself, the guy who controls all of it. Think about it. Okay, just keep your mind outside the box, please.
Now, close your eyes, throw a dart. Which of these universes are you going to land in? The first one that's real, or the gazillion that are not?
Well, yeah.
Just statistically.
Hypothetically.
Okay?
Am I drinking when we're playing this darts game?
Because then you miss the entire.
You know what I say? I don't say statistically. Okay, I don't say statistically because that's a construct that they can put in there to throw you off. So let's say hypothetically speaking. Okay, an educated guess. We can believe in probabilities and possibilities, but stop saying statistically because statistics are created by humans in the limits that they can see, know, and perceive. And that is what they want you to see, but you don't know what they want you to see. So it's better to say hypothetically. This is why I'm agnostic, okay? Not an atheist and not a theist. I said possibly, hypothetically, skeptically. All right, let's go.
Everything. No.
There's something called Bayesian statistics where you're allowed to introduce information that you already have available to you, even if you didn't measure it to be true. So we establish the likelihood that one day we'll have the power to do this.
Right.
And then that factor.
We will most likely not have that power because they don't want to be overrun. They're not stupid. So they'll give us a limited amount. Remember, a limited amount because of fear of... There was a movie basically called Loki. Okay? And then you understood that when you saw... Khan the Conqueror, okay, you could see he created multiple universes. I believe he was stronger than fucking Thanos, okay, before he even got the damn gems and shit in the first place. But other than that, okay, you got to think about that possibility. He said he got tired of it all, and that made a whole big point to me. That blew my mind when he said, "I just kill me, man. I'm done." Okay, and it doesn't matter. It's a reoccurring thing where you war with each other and you get tired of that shit. He created all these worlds. He created all these different things. He went back in time so many times. And so it can happen. But of course, he even put a construct there and they broke the construct. But he also gave him a warning with that little clock that was telling him, hey, you sure you want to do that? He gave him a life so he can transfer his power. But I'm sorry if I spoiled it for you. But if you didn't watch Loki, too bad, okay? He wanted to transfer his power to anybody, okay? But there's a choice there. But you got to watch Loki to understand what I'm saying here. Let's continue on.
Into these statistics.
Okay.
So there's 1 in a zillion you're the real universe and 999 zillion to 1 that you're a simulation. That convinced me. and I don't want to be convinced. I didn't like it. And I was just begging for somebody to give me an argument that was cogent enough to undermine that entire reasoning. And I just came across one.
Yeah, because I agree with that. What he says is basically he's not going to be convinced that we are just definitely living in a simulation. But you got to say hypothetically. You can't say it's a fact. Even though someone has discovered that we're possibly living in the world of like the Matrix, you still have to think outside the box and say possibly we're not. Okay. All right. Let's continue.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay. It's a good friend of mine, Rich Gott.
All right.
He was a colleague of mine back when I was at Princeton.
All right.
Deep thinker, likes calculating the ends of things.
Nice.
With Bayesian statistics. He's heavily quoted in this book, The Doomsday Calculation. And William Poundstone is a smart guy unto himself. And I am now convinced.
Now you're convinced.
Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
What do all these... So here is what convinced me we're not in a simulation.
Okay.
Are you seated?
All right. I'm seated.
Are you...
So, so he says, now digress, he don't understand his construct. So he's convinced that we are, I think he said possibly not in in a simulation, okay? But that's what I said before, it's better to think in hypotheticals. You can't say, okay, I know that I'm not living in a matrix. You can't say that. You can't say I know. But let's continue, okay?
Wait, hold on.
I'm going to hold.
Okay. All right. What do all those simulated universes have in common?
They're simulations.
They have the power to simulate themselves.
That's what I'm saying. They're simulations.
No, they have the power to simulate themselves.
Right. Oh, okay. Yes.
That's what they all...
Yeah, what he means in layman's terms is that if you create a simulation, within that simulation, there will be other processes. Like, for example, like this bag I'm looking at here. The movement of it, there's atoms and particles in there, and it has to simulate itself. Within itself, it has to be a program, which you cannot see until you analyze what they want you to see into this material here. Okay, if you understand science just a little bit, everything is always moving. It's a molecule, it's a polycule, okay, or a quark, okay? Because human beings cannot understand quarks. So you already know right there that if human beings can't understand quarks, we are very limited in our knowledge. So it is a possibility, regardless of which way. I said possibility that we may be living in the Matrix because we can't understand quarks. Just that little bit of information helps and goes a far way. An organism, from viruses to everything microscopic, has its own simulation program. That is what he's speaking about.
They make a simulation.
They have that power.
Exactly.
To simulate themselves exactly. Do we have that power now?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Which means that we can't send it. We can't send ourselves into the future as a simulation
because we don't have that power yet.
So we can't continue the chain.
So either we are the real one,
right,
or we're the one in the chain that's still evolving to try to then make a simulation within their own world.
Right.
So
he said their own world. He's correct about that. But remember, it said, you don't have no one has any facts. Human beings cannot understand quantum physics. All right, so let's keep a mental note there, okay? But the aliens may. So what we study is already processed by them already, which keeps us in the construct which we cannot leave. We're stuck in a box. It is a prison until they want you to leave. It's up to them. I remember watching this one episode on Black Mirror, and this guy was playing as a Star Trek character, okay? I don't know what episode it is. But basically, he was controlling everything inside that world, okay? So if you go watch a Black Mirror, you'll find that episode somewhere. But let's continue on here.
Odds of us being a simulation goes from a gazillion to one. I mean, to the likelihood of a gazillion, right?
It flips.
It flips. 50-50.
And he said 50-50, okay? So that's a great thing. There's a possibility because you don't really know. There's a limitation on what we can do by the permission of them. All right? Okay, limitation, okay? Most people in the world are useless individuals who just are parasites. But those people who basically are like to be meticulous about things and calculating things like Neil deGrasse and shit, and people who are willing to learn are going to be those who wish to evolve to the next level. Do you understand? Most people in this world are just simulation projects, okay? Challenges and tasks. All right, I've learned this when I was a kid, when I was 7 years old. You always have to keep thinking, because if you're not thinking, you cannot evolve. People who are into religion, people who are basically following everybody like sheep into the slaughter, these are the ones that will be stuck here. They're nonchalant. They will probably be useless. Let's continue on.
Well, I'm good with that. That changes my life completely.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, you'll be reincarnated. Those individuals who don't understand the construct of this world will be reborn here. Stuck. Let's continue.
No longer are your kids going to say, Dad, it doesn't matter, we're in a simulation anyway. No, you got an argument. You have a rebuttal.
Exactly.
Now, a quick one.
I have to do my homework.
I got ready?
Go ahead.
Maybe these simulators have a side activity where they like reminiscing about days before you could simulate. That would be us.
So now we're Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. We're Pong.
We're classic. Yeah. Classic gameplay.
So maybe we're just entertainment, like a historical exercise.
Right.
That's possible, in principle. However, let's look at our own...
When I look at this dude on the right, I believe he is partially gay. This is because his movements. I'm like, yo, what are you moving like that for, dog? What are you moving like that? What the hell is all that? It's a certain... he reminds me... Kevin Simp Samuels. You know that he had that Dixie bag on? He's bi-curious, okay? He goes both ways. You got to watch guys like that. When I see guys like that, and I'm looking, I'm like, dude, what's all that movement for? What is that? Exaggeration, okay? Kevin Simp Samuels do that same shit. Those little, classical movements, okay, of old school cracker folk, okay? But it can happen in... That genetics can breed off into black folks too. But when I see it, I'm like, where did he learn that from? What did he watch to actually be doing that, okay? That's weird. That's fucking weird, okay? I'm weird too, so I ain't just talking about him, okay?
Conduct with that regard.
Okay.
I think of a movie as a simulation, just for the sake of this conversation. Which it kind of is. Ask yourself, how many movies have been made in a time before we ever knew how to make movies? relative to movies made in the era where we know how to make movies. You can do the numbers. It's small.
Oh,
yes,
sure.
the Spartacus, there's the OK Corral.
Three Musketeers.
Those exist.
That type of stuff.
Okay?
Okay.
If we are any measure of the incentives of creating simulations, which all we can do with movies at this point, then they might have some historical thing, but there's way more interesting things and stories to tell in the era of simulations that exist post-simulation.
Right. And
So even if there are...
Like, for example, when I listen to 80s music and 90s music, it's far better than the music now, man. Think about that. Okay? And when I think about those music, I say, how can they... I love retro music, okay, back in the 80s into the 90s. It seems so original. But these days, when you listen to music, it's just yada, yada, yada. It's not authentic. It's like not the real thing. It's just so strange, right?
Some period pieces that we might be, still most of these would be universes made after they could simulate themselves.
Right.
If our movie making habits are any indication of anything.
So the chances are we're not a little offshoot, like a little side project.
We could be, just statistically, it's
Probably
not likely.
not. Right.
Because we're throwing darts.
Right.
And most of the stories...
Yeah, he's always talking about statistically because of the construct of human scientists in this world through arrogance. I told you, they are the ones who implement our statistics. So you can't believe in statistics anymore. It's hypotheticals. Okay.
they're going to simulate are going to be the ones that that are in the era of the time they could simulate themselves.
So that still brings us back to we're probably either the first or we're on our way to being the next.
On our way to being the next.
And also, you have to take into account, if they have control over time and space, this is all a soapbox to them. It's all a soapbox. Like, you and your generation of people always like to watch and do things to entertain yourself. So, they want to see different variations of it. The unlimited amount. Unlimited, forever going, every little minute thing that must be experienced. They created. Alright? So, most people have to understand that themselves has to be God. Because you're creating your world within the world of yourself. The world revolves around you. I'm outside your world, dog. So I'm not trying to say you should be arrogant or narcissistic, but that's a proven fact that the world revolves around you rather than the other way around. Usually when people say, oh, the world don't revolve around you, those individuals don't have a world, okay? They just don't, okay? But let's continue on now here.
That's correct.
One or the other.
That's more likely than any other possibility here.
Wow.
And so I can now rest well at night.
So no simulation.
Yeah, I'm good.
No,
I think I'm real. I think you're real. I think we're good.
Well, real recognize real, so yes.
This dude on the right, I don't know who he is. He's a knucklehead to me. You know, he didn't say no simulation. He said 50-50, but, you know, we're just going to brush past that. Possibility, 50-50. You can say that. That's being agnostic. Let's believe the possibility of anything and everything, okay? Don't close your mind, okay? Yes, and I have Game Informer. I listen to all the news and topics and stuff for gaming and stuff. I'm on every Monday through Thursday night on Twitch. So if you read my credentials down below, you'll find my Twitch. All right? Let's continue on with the video and close it off. Okay.
I forgot about that expression. Real recognize real.
Real recognize real.
You got
so there you go.
Chuck, fist
Yep.
bump on
Boom,
that.
boom.
Star Talk.
Yeah.
Signing out.
Now, I hope you guys learned something here, okay? To keep your mind open. Keep your mind open to all possibilities and probabilities. It's good to be 50-50. If you want to feel that we are most likely in a simulation, mostly, then that's kudos. If you want to feel like we're, you know, on the other side, we are living in reality, that's kudos to you too, okay? I believe right down the middle that we are possibly living in either or. Okay, because my mind is open. I would never close myself and say, most likely we're living in a reality. I would never say that. And I would most likely never say, oh, we're living in a simulation. Because you'll never know. This is why it's important to be agnostic. Now, if you want to be an atheist and don't believe in nothing until you do science, that's fine. Okay? Me, I like to do some scientific research too. But still, our minds are still limited to the construct of science. And that can come from some other source why we have these constructs in the first place. Okay, I hope you understand me. And if you have any comments, questions, insults, or roast fest, you put it down below. I'm out of here, guys, because I'm not your average man. I'm not your beat up man. I'm out of here, guys. This your Godhead, the Emeraldpillarking, which most guys can't be Emerald Pill in the first place, but that's okay. Peace.